Are you losing interest from your prospect and not sure how to re-engage them? I'm being frequently asked about how to navigate both follow-up and next steps within the sales cycle. And it's much easier to engage somebody earlier on in the sales cycle process, as it's all questions and discovery and excitement about the prospect of solving a problem, ultimately getting towards that proposal stage, which I know that you are all dying to get to. Then you hit send and you maybe send that sigh of relief and you get on with your day. But then what? Did Sarah say she was going to share it with her CFO? Did Steve say that he was going to be discussing it in his meeting on Friday? And nothing's come back from them since. Is now the right time to follow up? Or shall I leave it longer? Has it been too long? Should I now send an email? Should I call them? The challenge comes that when we don't set something in motion earlier on, it becomes very much a guessing game later on during that sales process. And this is where many salespeople get stuck. And so often what people will say to me is that I'll just call and see if they have any questions. And I need to stop you right there. I am pretty certain that they don't have any questions. So let's try something else instead. Let's get specific. How did your conversation go with Steve? What did Sarah think of the proposal? Were you able to go into more detail during that meeting? We're able to understand more about the process and where they were at when we get specific, rather than, I just wanted to call to check to make sure that you got the proposal and do you have any questions? It leads you down a dead end that doesn't really allow you to go anywhere. And so my initial suggestion would be go back 2 steps, but seeing as we can't go back in time, I'm going to recommend that we focus on the next steps that we can take to give you the best outcome. So instead, I would say focus on having a call. Where were they? What were they doing? What was the feedback you would like? And I would really focus on open questions. If you're not getting any answer, think about emailing. If you're not getting any response from emailing, think about sending a calendar invite. And if you're not getting any luck there, then maybe try your hand at LinkedIn. But within all of this, we want to remember that we need to be focusing back on what's in it for them. Now, often what's happened is that people have dropped off, other things have gotten on their to-do list, they've got busy. Unless you are offering a life or death solution or something that had to be implemented yesterday, the urgency can often change or fluctuate within an organization depending on who the decision makers are, who the influencers are, champions are, and what else is going on within that organization. Did something else bump you off the list? Did the priority change? Did somebody leave? There are so many things that we need to keep hold of, and almost thinking of all those spinning plates that are going on around you. And so if we can go back in time, or at least just prepare for the next one, always ensure that we don't lose that momentum after the proposal. We're all driving towards that proposal that goes in our pipeline, that gives us, the green tick of approval. It shows that we're going to get things moving. And if they don't buy, well, they don't buy and we move on. It really does depend on the attitude that we have once we get to that proposal stage. And the biggest risk is that we do let that drop off when we've done so much work, and often great work, to get there. They've been excited, you've sent through the proposal and then thrown everything else out the window. So we need to ensure that we're always confirming what's happening next. How are we going to be communicating? What do you need to see from me? So if, for example, they say that they're going to go away and find out some extra information or present this back, how are you supporting them to do that? Because you're a trained professional in sales. They aren't necessarily going to be. And what we're then doing is relying heavily on them to go away and to be able to do as good a job as you've done to this moment. And so how can we support them? What else can we provide to them? Is it a business case? Is it use cases? Is it a video overview of that proposal so that you're able to really get your point across, and all they have to do is therefore send a link? You'll also be able to see when they've opened it, depending on the software that you're using. So there's a couple of extra pieces in there that will really help you to build that momentum and excitement around the proposal, but also not let it drop off. When we know what they're going to be doing next, we can facilitate or recommend where we fit in. When should we have that conversation? And what we tend to find is after we've gone to proposal steps is that the time that we need with them shortens. So when it comes to requiring a follow-up meeting, we are able to do that in 15 minutes because we should have answered everything early on. We've talked about the investment already. We've talked about the inclusions. So what else is there to answer? So when we get back to the business and reminding them of why they were, what they want, and how we can support them in achieving that, we need to make sure that we are there throughout the next steps so that if anything does come unstuck, if anything does change, we're ahead of that curve, ahead of that challenge, or we are on the ball with them holding their hand through that process. Remember that our prospects are busy, but we are also busy and we are also need to respect our time and the expertise that we're bringing. And that's something I learned very early on in sales. And we talked about, the saying of salespeople have feelings. And it's certainly something that we need to really be mindful of. It comes down to then valuing your expertise and time as much as you value your prospects. If you've come to them cold, you've come in with an opportunity. And if they've said yes to the next steps, they've obviously found something within that can support them and their organization. And so it's a two-way street in any sales conversation. And we sometimes just need a little reminder of that. Now, yesterday I gave advice to a client, which was about calling out the situation in relation to something gone cold. Now, their opportunity had dropped off. They hadn't done their follow-up processes. They hadn't secured the next meeting. And so right here, they were left in almost no man's land. They had a phone number. They've got people that they can reach out to. They understand the process, and that's what we worked through. So we're going to go there. Now, this relates to if a client is, let's say you've been playing phone tag with a prospect and it's been back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and you're trying to secure a follow-up call or a meeting or to get some feedback. If I was unable to get hold of them, and we've tried phone, we've tried text, we've tried email, I would then suggest then that we try the scheduling a call or scheduling a 15 minutes in their diary, and using the fact that I know we've been playing phone tag back and forth. I thought it may be easier for you if I pop 15 minutes in your diary. If you're unable to make this time, check out this time or this time. Now, what we've done there is we've connected on the fact that I'm sure they feel the same way.